Hey everyone, Guy from Midwinter Minis here. One of the things that really hooks a lot of people in this hobby is the immersive universe of Warhammer 40,000, but when you're just starting out, you might not have access to loads of cool buildings and terrain. And while there's no harm in filling up your battlefield with books and bottles, you'll probably find it way more enjoyable to play the game if you've got some suitably grimdark bits of scenery to make it look the part. In this video, I'm going to show you 6 easy, cheap and beginner-friendly ways to make your battlefields look more impressive. First up, barrels. Store-bought scale model barrels are often pretty expensive or only available in sets with other stuff you maybe don't want, so an easy alternative is to use 15mm brass couplers. The banded detailing is already there, they're the right size for the scale, and you can buy them literally from any hardware store, and they tend to be really cheap, about a quarter of the price of barrels you'll find in kits. If you want any of them to be closed, cut a little circle of card and glue it onto the end before you paint and prime. I'd recommend putting one on the bottom of each barrel either way. To make them fit in the world of Warhammer 40,000, give them a blast of metal spray primer. The plastic primer I'd usually use won't adhere to the surface so well, and paint them up in any colour you like, or a mix of colours. Barrels are a good way to use your spare water transfers too, so apply some if you want to add quick, easy detail. Stipple on some dark brown paint and silver chips using a sponge or stiff brush to simulate a little damage, and then give them a go over with your favourite shade wash to bring the colours together. Give them a quick coat of varnish if you want to protect them, and you are done. If you've left any of them open, here are a few ideas of how to fill them. Toxic sludge using a hot glue gun and Nurgle's rot paint from Citadel. Crude oil using hot glue and really any dark blue or brown paint and finished with a gloss varnish. A burnt out bin fire using a packaging chip to fill up the space, PVA, sand, a few broken sticks. Paint it black and dry brush slightly lighter shades of grey, and you're done. Next, junk barricades. A great way to block line of sight, restrict vehicles and offer some cover, and just make your battlefields look a bit cooler. To make them, you'll need something rigid like MDF to construct the base, lolly sticks to make the frame, and basically just any junk you have lying around to make the barricade. Cut up food containers, mosquito mesh, plastic canvas, corrugated card, hobby offcuts, pretty much anything you were probably just going to throw out. The first step is to build your basic structure. Make a few 1x3 inch shapes out of the MDF to act as the base. Bevel down the front and back with a knife, but leave the edge so they can be placed edge to edge nicely. Now cut some lolly sticks in 3-inch lengths, making sure to cut off the round edges. Use PVA to sandwich the 2 sticks at each end, and try to keep the angle straight as much as you can. It might help to place an unglued stick underneath them to keep them level while they dry. And when that assembly is dry, stick it to the centre of your MDF sheet, and now have fun filling up the gap with your random junk bits. It might be helpful to fill up that space in the middle with a bit of stiff card, but I don't want to stifle your creativity. When you're done with that, add some debris to the base to make it fit in with a battlefield vibe, and once you're totally happy with the construction, leave them overnight to dry, and then give them a blast of spray primer. Paint them up in whatever way you want. A nice mix of silvers, muted colours, stippling, rust and heavy washes will make it look the part. Eco-friendly and hobby-friendly, win-win. If you want some ideas of how to paint up these junk barricades, check out the Orc Barricade tutorial I made last year. Okay, so we've got some shonky walls, some grungy barrels, now what? How about some easy industrial walkways? Now, not much to tell you about this, other than they're a great way of spicing up your urban and hive-world battlefields for practically no effort. Jump on eBay and grab yourself some super cheap aquarium gravel filters. These basic plastic shapes have this cool, tight industrial look to them that feels pretty scale appropriate, and a lot of them, even the cheapest ones, lock together. This can obviously look pretty cool for creating grimdark alleyways or platforms in your games, or maybe even as the corridors of a space Hulk. Now the plastic on these can be really smooth, so to help your primer adhere, give it a quick sand and a clean before you paint. Prime it up, base coat some grungy rusty colours, sponge on some silver, give it a wash, and when it's dry, bam, super fast industrial walkways. Pretty cool, right? So, halfway done, just a quick shout out to the newest patrons Admech Jester, Maximilian, Ethan, Nicholas, Sean, the Irish fella Connor, and Mike. Our awesome patrons help us keep supplied of hobby bits and bobs, and all the supplies that we need to make these videos, and they also stop us from having to put ads on them so you can enjoy watching them without interruption. Right, on to number 4, wooden platforms. Now these are a great thing for linking up buildings and creating cool walkways or barricades with Necromunda. Now if Age of Sigmar is your bag, they also look great in Warcry too. Just 2 basic building materials here, lolly sticks and matchsticks. Cut your lolly sticks to a standard length. I just cut the curvy ends off and use the full length. But for every 2 full-size sticks you make another one and cut it in half so we can make a realistic staggered pattern. All you need to do is lay out your sticks like this and push them together so they're nice and tight. Now take your matchsticks and make sure the length of the stick will cover the width of the walkway side to side. Snip it down if it's too long. And when you're happy, glue them in place, making sure every plank has at least 2 sticks glued to it. Wait for your walkway to dry, and now we can start making it look the part. If you want any of them to look slightly scorched, now's the time to do it. Literally set it on fire, and then quickly blow it out. Be careful and get an adult to help you if you're a child or have no common sense, like me. Have a glass of water at hand just to dunk it in case the flames get out of control. Safety first. Now, no need to prime these. We're going to use the natural wood look to our advantage, so slap on some earth tones, sepia or black washes, and let it settle into the texture of the wood. Once that's dry, give it a light dry brush with a warm off-white and call it a day. For bonus grossness, flick some reddy brown paint at them to imitate blood splatters. Corn approves. Okay, next up, Foamboard Ruins. Ruins are a quintessential part of that grimdark ethos, and you can make them for yourself pretty easily. Now, there's no strict rule on how big to make these, but if this is your first time making something like this, try a smaller one just to learn the ropes and get comfortable using the material. So using a sharp blade, cut out 2 big foamboard squares. I'm going for about 5 inches long and wide, and now cut those squares corner to corner so you're left with 4 big triangles. 2 of these will be your broken walls, 1 will be the base, and 1 we'll use for decoration later. Now on the 2 you'll be using for the walls, take a minute to make those diagonal edges look a little bit rougher, like it's maybe crumbled and broken and not been cleanly sliced. Okay, now to link these 2 parts together, you want to cut a little recess out of the tall side of one of the walls, the same width as your foam board. Gently cut down, but don't put too much pressure on it. You're not trying to cut all the way through, you still want to leave the card on one side of the board intact. Once you've done that, run your knife flush along the card face you were cutting towards, and this should free up a little strip of foam. Now coat that little recess in PVA and press the other wall into it. Stand it up and prop it against something if you want it to stop shifting while it dries. Now you might want to reinforce this structure to stop it bending and breaking, and a good way to do this is just attaching the floor now, so simply glue your wall assembly on top. You can tart up that floor with a bit of rubble and debris. I like using plastic food packaging and cardboard to simulate some sort of floor pattern. So for that 4th triangle we made, I like to cut it up to add little accents to the outside of the walls. And don't be afraid to stab some bullet holes into the facings too. Real foam board artists like to hide the exposed foam parts with gesso, carefully cut card or papier-mâché, but I'm not one of those people. This is quick, dirty terrain, so I just prime it, hit everything with some drab urban tones, go heavy on the stippling and sponging to fake a texture, dry brush the edges if you want to, and stain some parts with random blotches and flicks of black and brown washes. Spice it up with some printout posters or draw some graffiti on it, and you're done. Finally, silly straw pipework. Now there's a big temptation to use plastic bendy straws when you make your terrain, but they're usually so thin and flimsy they flex and ruin your paint job. No, what you need is cheapo silly straw kits. You can get them literally everywhere. We got this particular kit in Flying Tiger, but there's tons available on Amazon and eBay too, and probably any local craft store. The plastic is a bit thicker, and you can be a bit rougher with them without worrying about the paint job. Glue them together in whatever configuration you like, maybe coming out of the ground or a roof, maybe arrange them so they can be pushed up against the side of a building, or make a few long straight ones to act as a pipeline. Prime them up and paint them in various rusty, grungy silver tones, and you're done. Pretty easy, huh? And that's it. 6 different, cheap and easy ways to spice up your terrain for games of Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Fallout, or just about anything if you want that kind of grimdark flavour. Now that's it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, we've got a ton of painting and hobby videos ready for you to explore. And if you like this kind of video, why not check out this step-by-step on how to make MDF kits look awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.